Welcome to Story of the Day with Colony American Finance, where we ask team members to share their greatest highlight or most memorable experience working with real estate investors. Today we've invited Micaela Lumpkin, VP of Term Loans at Colony American Finance, to share her unique perspective. Micaela is a Juris Doctor graduate of Georgetown University Law Center. Micaela, could you please share with us a unique story or experience while at Colony American Finance?
I think my most memorable borrower story is probably with a borrower that came in, a first-time borrower. He had a family office, and we have the gamut of borrowers. We have folks that are big institutional players. They've been involved in the SFR space since its inception. And then we have your very small mom and pop operations. This was probably somewhere in the middle. It was a family office, but large operation, based out of Florida. They had about 100 assets that they were financing with us, but it was the first time that they'd gone to a CAF type lender, and that was outside of the scope of your neighborhood bank. So they were coming to us for obviously a commercial loan, and they hadn't been through the process before. Commercial loans were scary to them. It was something that they hadn't done. The requirements were new. They read the term sheet. They somewhat understood the term sheet. They'd hired big fancy lawyers out of the nearest big city, and the lawyers were over-lawyering the transaction. It was really tough because they weren't getting simplified advice to move the deal forward in a clipped pace. So they were getting overwhelmed, they were getting a little intimidated, and I think the CAF team really stepped up to the plate, and the underwriters, coordinators, and closers really came in and held the borrower's hands throughout the process. The originators came in and really broke down the term sheet for them. We really tried to break things into bite-sized chunks so that the borrower could tackle things every day, and they had a roadmap to how to get their loan closed. We definitely had obstacles, and it was a longer process because they really had to get comfortable with a lot of things that were outside of their normal scope of practice. But I think it was a really positive first commercial loan experience for them. They were thrilled with the result. I think we really bent over backwards and showed to them how committed we were to closing their loan. I think there were so many different times where we could have just thrown up our hands and said, this is too slow, this is too complicated, you're putting too many buts. We had to get asset management on the phone multiple times. Very few borrowers ask us about the asset management process before we close a loan. And these folks wanted to know about everything. I mean, cash management, which is a very intimidating process for a lot of our borrowers, which we really try to break down for most borrowers. They required extra hand-holding throughout that process, and I think people really stepped up, and they wanted to get them to understand and feel comfortable with our terms. And I hadn't been at CAF for a very long time, but it was impressive to see people willing to take the time in a finance setting to break down intimidating and difficult concepts for people that hadn't been in this process before, and to try to get them comfortable. It made me see how transparent the process at CAF is and how we want people to understand what they're signing up for. There's no hiding of the ball here. We want people to understand their terms. We want people to feel comfortable, and only then are we going to be comfortable closing a loan. And all parties got there. Like I said, borrower was thrilled, and I think we won a lifelong customer.
Colony American Finance is a specialty lender that provides loans to residential real estate investors. For more information about our portfolio term loans, single asset term loans, or acquisition credit lines, visit colonyamericanfinance.com.